Good morning, everybody. How are you doing today? I hope you're well. Are you getting chances to get into your gardens? I hope so. And oh my goodness, I know from pictures I've seen on the news and sort of in Facebook feeds, what have you, I know that some of you are still clearing up after all of the rain and the flooding. Oh God, my heart goes out to you. I was seeing these images and thinking, oh, it's awful, it's awful, it's awful. Now I was thinking, well, at least it's not their homes. It's just the allotment. It's just the garden. Their homes are secure, what have you. But actually, I've got to say, I was kind of, some of the pictures I've seen, I was picturing that as if it was on my plot. And, as you saw a few days ago in the tour video, I hadn't been to the garden for about 4 weeks. We'd had 2 more storms in that time. Didn't know what to expect, but thought, well, actually, I'm not expecting the worst, because if it was really bad, I'm sure someone would have messaged me. And I was imagining what it would feel like for me walking into the garden after these 4 weeks. And so I've got an itchy label, and seeing my garden looking like some of the gardens I've seen on the telly and on YouTube and Facebook, what have you. Just awful. So, look, I hope you guys are getting straight, and, if I lived near, I'd come and give you a hand, but I think most of it is sort of in the Severn Valley and up in Never Eat Shredded Wheat, West Yorkshire, is it? So, for those of you who weren't flooded, I hope you're just starting to get back to your gardens and get back into the groove of things. I know there are some folk who tuck their gardens up for winter completely and that's it, they don't go back. So maybe you're just starting to venture back and getting that sense of excitement. Yay! Right, so I've got a few sort of odds and ends to do today. I've got a whole list, but they're all just little odds and ends jobs, and I quite like those days. It's those days of where the jobs are sort of 10-15 minute jobs, sometimes even 5 minutes, sometimes 20 minutes, but over the course of a couple of hours, tick loads of jobs off. Yay! So first things first, I've had one delivery and another delivery. Real Felcos. What I'm going to do, I'm going to deal with the other delivery first, and then I'm going to show you, as I've learned, some of the ways to spot fake Felcos, because apparently these fake ones that are being sold, I mean, they're very good, as in they look so close to the real ones that unless you had the two to compare, you wouldn't necessarily know. And hundreds, if not thousands, of people are getting ripped off because, yes, the fakes are cheaper than the true Felcos, but they're still expensive. Now, here are my fakes. They have worked well. So, yes, they're fakes. Yes, they were still expensive compared with other secateurs. I think sort of like 25 quid. Well, you can get a secateurs for a £5, can't you, at B&Q or somewhere else. So they do work. They work well. And if you saw my video, I've managed to clean and sharpen them to some degree. They've worked better since I did that. It's more just that thing of scammy people trading on a really good name. Shouldn't be allowed to happen. Anyway, I'll show you that shortly. But first of all, let's get this little box open. This should be half of my onion set order. It's the whites. Now what's curious, and I don't know why, it's the same every year. Every year it's the same. I get my white onions around about now, so anywhere between sort of the middle of February and the beginning of March. But then my red onions are always sort of 4 or 5 weeks later. I don't know why that is. I'm sure one of you knows why it is. Why do red onions take longer to come than white onions? So, as soon as my onions arrive, get them tipped out and spread out, because if I leave them in this mesh bag all squashed and sitting together, firstly they could get a bit sweaty and it'd go a bit hinky. But also when they first arrive, have a really thorough look through them. What you want is your sets should be firm, nice and firm. Some of them may have started sprouting, a couple of these have. But yeah, have a look. They should be nice and firm. Some of them you'll get, oh no, it's sprouting, that's why. You'll give them a squish, like this one, and it actually feels, it feels half empty. Set those ones aside. Do a sort of a visual and a touch inspection of them. I've just spotted one, it's rolled away. Where did it go? I just spotted one with mould on it. So that's what I mean. These aren't going to go into open ground until at least into April. I think I normally do my planting about mid-April. So the last thing I want is to keep them all mushed up together in that bag, and those couple that have started to go mouldy, for that to spread to all the others. So yes, if you're getting your lovely onions through at the moment, if you're not ready to plant them, you see that, oh, this one, I'm going to, oh, this one's alive. I'll show you that. Can you see it's all mouldy? Yeah, if you're not ready to plant them just yet, at least tip them out, spread them out so there's a nice bit of air around them all. Go through with your eyes looking that mould, but also give them all that little bit of a squeeze test. Now, it's almost inevitable that, oh, that's such a lovely one. Do you know what though? Now they're here, I want to go and put them in the ground. It's too cold. It's too cold and it's too wet still. It's no point. Anyway, yes, go through them, and like I say, it's almost inevitable that there will be some of them that are a bit hinky. And you're like, oh, chuck them. I would say though that if, as you're doing that, if you think, hang on, this is more than 10% of all of them, because you know what, they're not cheap. These are, I wonder if the price is on here. They are organic, and that always puts the price up. Yeah, I mean, look at that. That is £3.80. The onion sets and my seed potatoes, oh, I'll show you those in a sec. They're always my expense purchase every year, because I always get sets and I always get seed potatoes. Everything else I do from seed. I try to gather my own seed to save costs. But yeah, organic onion sets, they're not cheap. So if as you're going through them, you think, hang on a minute, this is like 10, 15, maybe even more %. Get in touch with your supplier, because a decent supplier is not going to want you to be unhappy. They should either replace the whole lot, or at least send you, you know, half that amount again to replace all the ones that are hinky. Be prepared. I've only had it once, where it was when I got those herbs a couple of years ago. What a waste of time Victorian nurseries are. I've learned now, basically, when something arrives, take a photograph of the box as you're opening it, so that if it's already apparently damaged as you're opening. But with something like this, take photographs. It seems that that's the way we go in this day and age. Everybody wants proof your word is no longer good enough. But yeah, like I said, do get back in touch. God, it's gone chilly. Do get back in touch with your supplier if there are a lot that are looking a bit rubbish, and you should hopefully be set right. Okay, I'm going to swing you all around, just show you how the spuds are doing, and then let's get on to the Felcos. And then I need to get outside to do some stuff, but it's suddenly gone really, really grey. And the luck I was having, do you remember all through January and into the beginning of February, literally every time I came to the garden, about half an hour later, the heavens would open. It is not supposed to rain today. So the spuds are all chitting away nicely, looking perfectly happy, despite my scare early February when we did have a couple of frosty nights. But look, lovely, really sturdy little chits. This is what you want. You don't want leggy, white, long, spindly. These are looking pretty much nigh on perfect. So we are still having our mild weather, but do keep a check on your forecast, because if we end up being due 2 or 3 nights of heavy frost, it is worth, well, it'll certainly be worth it for me to whiz down here and chuck some fleece over them. But yeah, lovely, lovely little chits coming on all of them. Do you remember this when I left it? I left it be. It's my Mohican duck. It's now an alien duck. But yeah, I'm delighted with those. They're looking perfectly good, exactly as I would want them to be at this time of year. They normally, I would think in terms of planting, any time from mid-March, in other words, St. Patrick's Day, yay, 17th of March. I won't be in a hurry to do them on the 17th of March because I think the ground is going to be a bit too wet and a bit too cold still. So I think this is going to be more like an end of March job. But that's fine because they're not going mad. They're going nice and steadily. Right, okay, what's next? Ah, yes, let me show you the stuff with the Felcos. Right then, I'm going to try and show you this the best I can. The camera may wobble because the floor is wonky in my shed, but at first glance, yay, pretty similar. These are the real ones, these are the fakes. So, let me just slide this out of its packet first of all. Now, the first thing is this packet that it came in, this cardboard. Do you see it sort of opens up? It gives you instructions. Look, there's instructions for how to take it apart, for cleaning, etc, etc. The fakes didn't have this. It was just a single layer of cardboard insert in the packet. So that's one of your first telltale signs. And it's that thing, isn't it? You know, this Felco is a great company. It's tried and tested. They take care with their product. And part of that care is things like this, of showing you how you can look after your own tools. Great. Okay, so let's shove that a bit further out of the way. So the first and probably most obvious difference is, actually, this is funny, I'm going to use a stick to point, a pencil. Let's see if I can get, oh, this angle is a bit funny, isn't it? Hang on, let me just readjust this angle. I'm going to keep the fakes on the bottom, the real ones at the top. So the first thing to notice, this little thing here, I always call it the brake. I don't know what its real name is. It's much more sticky out than on the Felco. Then, I think I'm going to have to just hold this closer for a second. I'm just going to show you in here the bolt through the middle of that wheel. On the fake, is the light good enough? Can you see it's got a slightly flat edge? Just on this side, a slightly flat edge. Whereas on the real ones, no such thing. The other thing to note is all the screws that there are on the Felcos are flat heads. Oh, so much easier to work with. On the fakes, they're all cross heads, which were nigh on impossible to get out. Now, another major difference, let's just open them up. And this difference I'm going to show you now is what alerted, whacking the camera. This is what alerted me to the fact that something was possibly wrong. As you know, when I was doing my cleaning and sharpening of them, I was following instructions that I'd seen Cliff of Castle Hill give fantastically. I couldn't get this blade off. I was like, why can't I get the blade off? There's a blooming great screw in it, and I could not get that screw out. Oh, just couldn't budge it. There shouldn't be a screw there at all. As you'll see on the real ones. Whoopla. No screw on the blade. So when this is all dismantled, when that bolt is taken out and you can basically take each layer off, then eventually I can get the whole blade off so I can give it a proper clean and a proper sharpen. So yes, just keep a lookout, folk. That's a bit stiff at the moment. I might have to give that a wiggle. Look, the kind of fake branding, it all looks so similar, but I would say there's a couple of key things to look out for, and that is there should not be a screw in the blade. These should all be flathead screws. This little thumb brake, whatever you want to call it, should not be that long. Look at the difference, close up side by side. So these do work. They do work quite well. I might keep these and just use them for really, really rough work and keep my Felcos for best. Not for best, but maybe sort of smaller jobs. But the fact is, I could probably give these away to someone if someone on site needs them, because they do work and they can be sort of sharpened and sort of cleaned. Because in theory, these beautiful new ones, they should last 25, if not more years. I'm pretty sure they will see me out the rest of my gardening life. So yeah, I'll hang on to both for now and decide on that as the season kicks in. Oh, gorgeousness. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeousness. The light is dreadful today. It's getting darker by the minute. But beautiful, beautiful wee blossoms on Sheena's almond tree. Let's just see if I can bring this one down into the light a bit. Oh, they're gorgeous wee blossoms. So lovely to see at this time of year. The first few things coming back. They look even more lovely against a beautiful bright blue sky. We definitely don't have that today. And it's definitely getting chillier by the minute. So I think time to get back on with some work and enjoy the sound of the birds. Oh my goodness me. The Laura sod is playing silly whatsits again. Literally just stepping out of Sheena's garden, it started to rain. What is going on this year? Literally every time I come to the garden, within half an hour or so of me getting here, it starts to rain. And I plan my garden days around the weather forecast, believe it or not. It says no rain due, and I think, yay, great. Percentage chance of precipitation? 0. Brilliant. I think it's going to pass, so I'm not going to dash off home just yet. The job I'm going to do next, we're out on the deck. It'll be nice. It's a nice little tinker time job. And I was just thinking about that this morning, doing all sorts of small tinkery jobs, is if you haven't been gardening much over the winter, and most of us aren't, if we're in our gardens over the winter, mostly it's for harvesting, maybe a little bit of tidying, maybe a bit of maintenance on sheds, fences, that sort of thing. But generally it's quite quiet work, if you like. So if you have had a physically quiet winter, don't go mad on your first day back in the garden. I think it's very tempting, isn't it? A sunny day, a mild, bright day, spend 8 hours digging, and then the next 2 weeks your back is screwed. So yeah, ease yourself back into it gently. Spend hours and hours in the garden, of course, why wouldn't you? But just make sure that if you're doing something quite heavy physical stuff, have a bit of a stretch in the opposite direction afterwards. Keep moving, but doing sort of more gentle jobs afterwards. And just try and stagger those really heavy physical jobs. Build up your strength again. Remind your muscles what they're there for. But don't break them all in one day. Right. It's gentle rain. I think it's passing. Fingers crossed we can get back out there in a second. I think the rain has stopped. I've got a bit of a theory that if the birds are singing again, sod saw some rather noisy thing in there. Oh, it's a helicopter. Yeah, I was thinking if the birds start singing again, the rain has stopped and it's going to stay stopped. So just as I was saying, I've got my little teeny tiny screws in here. Don't lose them. I want that one that stayed stuck. I always keep a little selection of odd bits and bobs of screws, hooks, doorknobs, goodness knows what in the shed. I was about to put that screw between my lips like I do with my pins at home. I'm not going to do that. Yeah, always keep a little selection. These require really tiny ones though, so I don't know if it's going to work. But just as I was saying about coming back to the garden after winter and just going a little bit slowly to start with, or do a big, where have I put my screw? Oh my goodness, they're in your head. There we go. Yeah, do a few, or think about one biggie job. Maybe one of the beds. If you've got green manure in, you're probably at that stage now of digging it in. So long I don't dig green manure in anymore. Good luck to you all. Yeah, intersperse those big, gnarly physical jobs. Oh, is that straight? Nah, never mind. I'm not. I'm a little bit wonky, so the sign can be wonky. Finally got that up. Got another one for over here. Isn't this beautiful? I'll show you against the fence here. Can you see that? I'll give you a closer shot in a minute. The rain's coming back. Oh, phooey dooey. This is a Christmas present from my lovely friend Jackie, this bird in metal. I think I'm going to pop it there. I'll show you that in a sec. What I'm doing here at the moment is I'm just moving my bee houses. Get your bee house first, Vivi. Because I think under all that Taunton Dean, I was actually worried that they were just getting damp and dark, and I don't think that's nice for the bees. So all of the tubes, as it were, all of the holes throughout all of this are all filled. So I need to do some looking up on this again. I looked up a couple of years ago and didn't retain the information, but I think I need to wait for them to all hatch and do their thing, however it's called, and then once whoever's in there is out again, I can get in there and give it all a really good clean out and invite new neighbours in. Oh, this pesky rain. Come on, let's put it back in the shed. So my theory about the birds only start singing again once the rain has passed, I was wrong. Still spitting a little bit. I'm going to get you inside again quickly, but just because I'm at the fence today, let me just show you. Oh yes. beautiful. Look at all the grass that's growing happily. This needs a good weeding. There's a couple of bits of bramble there coming up. These wood chips, yeah, they're great to make a path with, but they also make a beautiful growing medium as they break down. Do you know what? I think I'm going to have one morning where I say, or one day even, it's all about weeding today. I'm just going to have a weeding session. This needs a load of weeding. But yes, fence done again for a little while. Happy bee houses. This one, what I'm thinking, because I always have my deck chair here in the summer, is if I'm sitting in my deck chair really quiet, really still, hopefully the new ones for this year will find it, and I can just sit there and happily watch them, because I do love watching them being busy. This is so appropriate today, isn't it? Oh, let me get in closer. Life isn't about waiting for the storm to pass. It's about learning to dance in the rain. Hallelujah. Couldn't agree more. Everyone ready for a dance? And then just on the other side of the window, oh, isn't that gorgeous? It's so beautiful. It's just sort of cut from a sheet of metal. It's gorgeous. So as I say, this is from my friend Jackie in Canada, and sometimes when I'm Skyping with her, she points her camera at her bird feeder. And my firm favourite, it's become my firm favourite to watch, is a bird we don't have here. It's called a flicker. Now, this doesn't really look like a flicker, but I'm going to think of it as my own little flicker in England. Yay! I've also just very quickly, I've been meaning to do it for ages. Down here, you can see, I've just popped this hook in. I'm going to braid some separate strands of jute together. I want to make a thickish, almost like a rope, to come around the Taunton Dean, to just pull it back in towards the fence, hold it up a bit, because you can see there's the path, it's right over the path. So I just need to get it up and back. I need to give it a prune, where these large sections got felled in Storm Kira, Dennis, whatever. Give it a prune. I need to start to think about taking some cuttings, learning how to do that. But that can all wait for another day. Oh, I so love that. I'm so happy to see my bee houses again. It's been a long time since I saw them. And like I say, hopefully this summer, as I sit there, half snoozing, half awake in my deck chair, just listening and watching, hopefully part of the watching will be some insects. Oh, I just remembered as well, this whole bit in the middle, it did have, rather like this slots, it did have one of those on it, and it fell off pretty much straight away. I think that's for lace wings, I'm not sure. But what I was thinking is, I've got so many lengths of broken bamboo sticks, I think I'm just going to stuff that filled with a load more. Oh, I think it's time to get back in the shed. The rain is pitter-pattering. Yeah, let's pop back to the shed. Crikey, it's getting darker by the minute. It definitely wasn't supposed to be doing this today. But never mind. You know what? Back in the garden, I've got a load of little odd jobs done, both out there and some in the shed. It's great. Before we know it, it will be the crazy season as we sort of go into April and May with all that stuff we do. I was mentioning in the tour video with all the bed prep, structure building, sowing seeds, potting on, So it's really lovely at the moment to just go slowly. Look, it's spitting with rain still. I'm getting a little bit cold, not terribly cold. I've put another layer on. So I think what I'm going to do for now is say cheerio to all of you, turn the camera off. I'm going to sit back amongst my cushions, put my feet up, and I'm just going to sit and stare for half an hour and listen to the birds. And just embrace the joy that is having a little bit of outside space and a little bit of dirt to play in. So, cheerio everybody. happy playing in your outside spaces and your dirt.